The market smelled of smoke, rust, and fear. It was not a place where hope lived. Men shouted prices, chains clinked, and weak voices cried for mercy. It was the kind of place where lives were bought and sold like animals. And yet, among all the noise, one voice whispered so softly it almost did not belong there. "Save me," she said. The human stopped walking. He was just passing through this part of the alien city. He had seen markets before. He had seen slaves before, but this was different, because when he turned his head, he saw her. She was not like the others in the cages. Her skin shimmered faintly under the dull lights, almost glowing as if it carried the memory of stars. Her eyes, bright and sharp, locked onto him. There was no begging scream, no wild thrashing like the rest, only calm, steady desperation. It was the look of someone who had already lost everything but refused to let go of the last thin thread of life. The merchant beside her cage barked at him. "Rare goods!" "The last of her kind. Look at her beauty, human. You will never see such again. Pay now before she is gone." The human did not answer. His chest felt tight. He knew of her people, stories told in spaceports, legends about a once great race now destroyed in endless wars. He thought they were myths, but here she was, the last beauty of a fallen world. The crowd laughed and shouted prices. Some spoke of eating her flesh, others of using her for cruel entertainment. Every voice around him was ugly, but her eyes never left his. Even when the guards yanked her chain and shoved her forward, she whispered again, low enough only he could hear, "Save me, and I will give you a night you can never forget." The words froze him. It was not only a promise, it was a gamble. She knew he might turn away like all the others before, but she risked her pride and dignity, offering whatever she could just to live one more day. It was not the kind of offer a human should trust, but her voice carried something more than seduction. It carried truth, sorrow, and a strange fire. The merchant slammed his hand on the cage. "You, human, interested? Make an offer now. She won't last till night." The guards laughed. One leaned close to the cage and tugged her hair. She flinched but did not cry. Her gaze still fixed on him, and in that moment, the human felt something he had not felt in years. He felt anger, not the cold kind, but the burning kind that pushes a man to do something reckless. He stepped closer. "How much?" he asked, his voice steady but low. The merchant's eyes widened with greed. "For her? Too much for you, human, but make me a deal. She is special, you see that, yes?" The human reached for his belt pouch. He did not care about the cost, because the cost of walking away felt heavier than all the credits he owned. The crowd muttered, some cursed at him. One alien spat near his feet. "Fool, you cannot save her. She is cursed, she is doomed, her blood is marked." The human ignored them. He dropped a pouch heavy with coins on the table. "Take it," he said, "and unchain her." The merchant's fat fingers counted quickly. His greedy eyes shone. "Done. Done. She is yours, human fool." The guard sneered but obeyed. Unlocking the cage, the sound of the chain falling was louder than the whole market. She stumbled forward, weak but graceful. For the first time in years, she stood without iron on her wrists. The human reached out his hand. She hesitated, staring at it as if it was a door she never thought she would see. Then slowly, trembling, she placed her hand in his. Her skin was warm, soft, yet carried a strange power. The bond sealed in that touch was more than a deal. It was the beginning of something that would shake both their worlds. The crowd booed, angry that they lost their entertainment. But the merchant laughed and stuffed his coins into his robe. "Take her, human. Take your last alien beauty. She will bring you nothing but trouble." The words rolled in the air like a curse. The human led her away, ignoring the laughter, ignoring the stares. Every step felt heavier because he knew, by choosing her, he had just chosen a path he could never leave. She leaned close, her voice faint but clear. "You did not walk away, human. You saved me, and I will not forget." But behind them, shadows moved. Eyes watched from the corners of the market. Whispers spread. The last alien beauty had been claimed, and the galaxy would not stay silent about it. The night had not yet begun, but already trouble was coming. The human thought it was over once he paid the coins. He thought the chain was broken, that freedom had been bought. But the truth was far darker. As he led her out of the market, whispers chased him. Faces turned. Old merchants nodded to each other, and shadows began to follow. The alien girl walked beside him, silent, her bare feet bruised from years of cages, yet her eyes still carried a strange light. It was the light of someone who had tasted death but still chose to live. When they reached the edge of the city's broken wall, he stopped. He turned to face her. "You're free now," he said. His voice low, she shook her head, a faint bitter smile touching her lips. "No, human, I am not free," before he could ask. She pulled back the cloth on her arm. There, burned deep into her skin, was a mark, a glowing brand that pulsed faintly like fire trapped under her flesh. It was not just a scar, it was alive. The human frowned, reaching forward. "What is that?" Her voice was almost a whisper. "They called it the mark of chains. It was carved by the hunters of my people. It binds me even without iron. Wherever I go, they can find me, whoever touches me. They share my danger." His stomach tightened. He realized now why the crowd had laughed at him, why the merchant was so eager to sell. He had not freed her. He had only taken her curse. Suddenly, a sharp sound cut through the night, boots against stone, metal scraping. The human looked up to see 3 guards stepping out of the shadows, their faces twisted with greed, their weapons drawn. Well, well," one hissed. "The human actually paid for her. Too bad he doesn't know she's marked. Hand her over. And maybe we'll let you walk away alive." The girl's grip on his arm tightened. Her voice trembled. "Don't fight them. Please don't get killed because of me." But the human's jaw hardened. He stepped forward, placing himself between her and the guards. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me," the guards laughed, sharp and cruel. What's a single human against 3 blades? But they did not see the fire in his eyes. Years of survival, years of war, years of carrying scars that were not on his skin. The human was not just another buyer, he was a fighter. The first guard rushed forward. The human dodged, grabbed the man's wrist, and slammed him into the wall. The second guard swung his blade. The human caught it with his bare hand, blood dripping from the cut, and shoved it back into the guard's chest. The third hesitated, fear flashing in his eyes, but it was too late. The human's boot struck, sending him sprawling into the dust. Breathing hard, the human turned back to her. She stared at him in shock, her lips parted. You fight like one of us," she whispered. He wiped the blood from his hand, shaking his head. "No, I fight because I don't know how to walk away." The girl sank to the ground, clutching her branded arm. Tears welled in her eyes, not just from fear, but from something deeper. "You don't understand, human. This brand means hunters will never stop. Even if you kill one, 10 more will come, until either I am dead, or you are." The words hung heavy in the air. The human knelt beside her, lifting her chin so her eyes met his. "Then we don't run forever," he said, his voice steady. "We find a way to break the chain." She shook her head, hopelessness heavy in her tone. "It cannot be broken. It is carved with blood magic. It binds me until death." But the human only gave a small, stubborn smile. "Everything can be broken. Chains, walls, curses, all it takes is finding the right weakness." Her breath caught. For the first time, a spark of something other than despair flickered in her eyes. It was not hope yet, but the memory of it, and that was enough. But as they prepared to move again, distant horns echoed across the city. Not just 3 guards, not just hunters. An entire patrol was searching now. The whisper had spread. The last alien beauty was in human hands, and everyone wanted her back. The human grabbed her hand, pulling her to her feet. "We need to move," he said. "Where can we go?" She asked, her voice shaking. He looked toward the distant hills, where the ruins of old towers stood against the moonlight. Somewhere they don't expect. Somewhere they fear to follow. As they ran, the girl glanced at him. Her heart raced not just from fear, but from something else. Something she had never felt for anyone before. "Why?" she asked suddenly, her voice breaking the silence between their footsteps. "Why risk your life for me, when you don't even know my name?" The human slowed for only a moment. His eyes, shadowed with memory, looked far away. "Because once, someone asked me for help, and I walked away. I swore I would never make that mistake again." The night wind blew cold around them, carrying the sound of more boots, more hunters. The mark on her arm glowed brighter, as if mocking their escape, but still she ran beside him. The last beauty, cursed but unbroken, and the human, reckless enough to believe that even chains written in blood could be broken. The night streets were alive with noise. Alarms rang through the alien city. Horns echoed like hunting calls. The human and the alien girl ran through narrow alleys, their breath sharp in the cold air. Every corner felt like a trap. Every shadow carried danger. Behind them, the sound of boots grew louder, closer. The girl clutched her branded arm as it glowed faintly. Each pulse of light felt like a beacon, guiding their enemies straight to them. She gasped, struggling to keep up. They will not stop, human. The mark leads them. I am a flame they can always see. He glanced back at her, his voice firm. Then we burn brighter and make them afraid of the fire. They turned a corner and stumbled into a dead end. A wall of broken stone rose high before them. Too tall to climb quickly. Too late to turn back because already shadows spilled into the alley. Dozens of hunters with glowing blades and cruel grins. The leader stepped forward, his armor heavy with trophies. Human, you don't know what you've taken. That girl is marked property. Hand her over, and I'll let you die quick, refuse, and I'll let the hounds eat you alive. The girl stepped behind the human, trembling, but her eyes narrowed with anger. Her voice low, she whispered, I can fight, but if I use it, I may not survive. The human tightened his fists, his stance steady. Then I'll fight first. If you fall, I fall with you. The hunters roared with laughter. But the human moved before their laughter ended. He lunged at the nearest one, fists in fury. The clash rang out. Metal against flesh, he fought like a storm, breaking through the first wave. But there were too many. Blades cut his arm. Fists slammed his ribs. He staggered, blood running down his side. Still he stood, refusing to fall. The girl watched, horror filling her chest. Her branded arm burned hotter, brighter. Every cry of pain from him pulled something deep inside her. Finally, she screamed, Enough! The air shifted, her eyes blazed with unnatural light. Her mark burst into flames that did not burn her skin but spread through the alley like living fire. Hunters stumbled back, shouting in terror. Their blades melted in their hands, their armor cracked. The very ground trembled as if the city itself feared her. The human shielded his eyes, the heat almost unbearable. But he did not step back, he stood near her. Even as the fire licked the walls, and in that storm of power, he realized. She was not only the last beauty, she was also the last weapon of her people. The hunters screamed as the fire devoured them. One by one they fell, ash scattering into the wind. The alley that had been a trap became a grave for their enemies. And when it was over, the flames faded. The girl collapsed to her knees, her body shaking. Her glow dimmed, her breath shallow. The human rushed to her side, catching her before she fell. Her voice was weak, barely audible. This is why they want me. Not for beauty, not for blood, but for what sleeps inside me every time I use it. I come closer to burning away one day. There will be nothing left of me. He held her, his own wounds forgotten. His heart pounded with fear, not of her, but for her. You're not alone anymore, he said, his voice steady. I'll find a way to save you, to stop this curse. Her eyes fluttered open, a faint smile trembling on her lips. You're a fool, human. But you're the first fool I trust. Suddenly, more horns sounded in the distance. The fire had been seen. The city would soon swarm with soldiers. The human lifted her into his arms, ignoring the pain in his side. She was light, too light, as if already fading. But he refused to let her go. Through the ruined alleys he ran, each step echoing with the promise he had made. Behind them, smoke rose into the night sky, a signal to the whole world that something had awakened. Something the galaxy thought was gone. As they reached the outer gate, the girl stirred, her voice barely a whisper. There is one place. The ruins of my people. If we reach it, maybe the answers are there. The human tightened his grip. Then that's where we go, and I'll carry you every step if I have to. The night stretched long before them. The chase was far from over, but together, human and alien girl vanished into the wildlands beyond the city, leaving behind only fire, ashes, and the whisper of a legend reborn. The city's glow faded behind them, swallowed by the night. The human carried her across broken plains, his arms aching, blood drying on his wounds. Yet he did not stop. Each step was heavy, but the weight in his heart was heavier. He had chosen this path, and there was no turning back. The alien girl stirred weakly, her head resting against his chest. Her branded arm pulsed faintly. No longer fire, only embers. Her voice was low, almost like a dream. You should have left me. I am a curse that follows you. The human shook his head, his breath sharp in the cold wind. You're not a curse, you're a life worth saving. And I'll keep carrying you until you can walk free. They found shelter in the ruins of an old watchtower. Broken stones scattered, a half-roof giving shadow against the moonlight. The human laid her down gently, covering her with his cloak. The silence of the wild stretched around them. But inside the ruin, the air felt heavy with secrets. For a long moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the wind whistling through cracks. Finally, she opened her eyes, glowing faintly in the dark. My people. We once built towers like this everywhere. We believed they would stand forever, but forever ended faster than anyone thought. Her words carried pain, but there was also a strange pride. She touched the stone beside her, fingers trembling. Now I am all that is left. The last beauty, the last weapon. The galaxy wants me for both, but I would give both away, just for one night of being free. The human watched her carefully. He saw the sorrow in her, but also something else, something he could not name. He leaned closer, his voice steady. Tell me what you need. Tell me where hope still lives, and I'll fight to reach it. Her gaze locked with his, and for a moment the ruins around them seemed to fade. Only the two of them existed, bound by choice. Not chains, finally, she whispered. There is a promise I must keep. Deep in the ruins of my homeland lies the Vault of Dawn. It holds the last secret of my people. If I reach it, maybe the brand can be broken. Maybe I can be more than a weapon, and if I fail, then at least I die where my people once lived. The human sat beside her, his hands rough but gentle as he adjusted the cloak around her shoulders. You won't fail, he said, voice firm, because I won't let you face it alone. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. You speak as if you already belong to me. He gave a soft laugh, tired but real. Maybe I do. Maybe I belonged to you the moment you whispered for me to save you. For the first time, her eyes softened. Her hand reached for his, small and trembling when her fingers touched his. The brand on her arm flickered, not with pain but with warmth, as if responding to the bond forming between them. The night pressed closer. Shadows moved far away, hunters still searching. But inside the ruins, they sat together, sharing silence that spoke more than words. Then softly she leaned closer, her breath warm against his ear. I made you a promise in the cage that if you saved me, I would give you a night you could never forget. Her voice was neither playful nor cruel. It was heavy, serious, carrying the weight of survival and trust. Her eyes glowed faintly as she whispered, That promise still stands, not for payment, not for trade. But because you chose me when no one else did. The human's heart pounded, not from desire, but from the depth of her words. He understood now. It was not a promise of flesh, it was a promise of trust, of something sacred in a world that had taken everything from her. He placed his hand gently against her branded arm. I don't want a night I can't forget because of pleasure. I want a future neither of us forgets. One where you live free, one where this mark doesn't own you. Her breath caught, her eyes wide for a long moment. She said nothing, then slowly she nodded. Her tears glimmered in the dim moonlight. You speak of futures as if you can build them with your hands, he smiled. Tired but unbroken. I can't build futures, but I can fight for them. They sat like that until dawn began to touch the ruins. The first light painted the broken stones in gold. The girl leaned against him, her strength slowly returning. But as the sun rose, so did the danger. Far in the distance, horns sounded again. The hunters were spreading wider. The brand glowed faintly, as if mocking the hope they had found. The girl gripped his hand. Once we move, there is no stopping until we reach the Vault of Dawn. The human nodded, his jaw set. Then we move. And if the galaxy wants to stop us, it will have to burn. The promise of the night lingered in the air. Not a promise of desire, but a bond sealed in darkness. A bond that would carry them through fire, blood, and ruin. The sun rose higher as the human and the alien girl crossed the barren lands. The ground was cracked. The wind carried dust that tasted of old wars. No birds, no rivers, no sound of life, only silence that pressed heavy on the heart. The girl walked now, her strength slowly returning. Though her steps were unsteady, her eyes burned with purpose. Each mile carried them closer to the ruins of her people. The place she called the Vault of Dawn. The human glanced at her often. He noticed how she touched the mark on her arm as if to calm it. But every time she caught his eyes, she gave a faint smile. She wanted him to believe she was stronger than she felt. And he let her, because sometimes hope was stronger than truth. As the day stretched on, the ground began to change. Shattered stone towers rose in the distance. Broken like the bones of giants, the girl's breath caught in her throat. Her steps slowed, her hands trembling. This was once the heart of my world, she whispered. Her voice shook, not with fear, but with memory. The human followed her gaze. What he saw was only ruins, collapsed palaces, Burned halls, but in her eyes he could see what once had been. Laughter in streets, banners in the wind, children running through gardens. All gone, all turned to ash. She walked ahead slowly, her fingers brushing the carved stones, each touch like greeting a ghost. They called this city Nerith, the cradle of beauty, the flame of knowledge. We believed nothing could destroy us. Until the war came, her voice cracked. They burned the sky. They hunted us to the last child. And those who survived were branded like me, bound to chains until death. Tears ran down her face, falling onto the dust, but she did not stop walking. Because this ruin was not only pain, it was also the last place where hope might live. They reached the edge of a great broken gate, half buried in sand, but still carved with strange glowing lines. The girl pressed her branded arm against the stone. The mark pulsed, answering the forgotten door. Slowly, with a groan like thunder, the gate shifted open, revealing a stairway descending into the earth. The human's chest tightened. He felt the air change cold, heavy, full of secrets. He glanced at her. Are you sure? Her eyes, wet but fierce, locked on his. If there is any way to break my chains, it lies below. They entered the vault of dawn. The stairway opened into a vast hall lit by faint blue fire, walls lined with statues of her people, tall and elegant, eyes carved to look down on those who entered. Dust covered the floor, but the air thrummed with something alive, ancient power waiting to be touched. The girl walked slowly, her hand brushing the statues. This was our memory hall. Each stone holds the life of one of my ancestors, their thoughts, their voices, their hopes. When we were young, we came here to learn who we were. Now I come as the last, to ask how to be free. Her branded arm flared brighter. The statues began to hum, faint voices rising in the chamber. The human stiffened, gripping his blade, but the girl raised her hand. They are not enemies, they are echoes. A low, melodic voice filled the hall. Child of Nerith, you bear the mark of chains, a fire that devours its vessel. Why do you seek freedom when freedom burns? The girl stepped forward, her voice strong despite her trembling. Because I do not want to be only a weapon, I want to live, even if I am the last. I want to live as myself. The hall fell silent, then the statue's eyes glowed faintly. A beam of light struck the floor, forming a circle of fire and shadow. In the center appeared a shard of crystal, pulsing with the same light as her brand. The human grabbed her arm. Careful, he warned, but she shook her head. This is what I came for. She stepped into the circle. The brand on her arm blazing, the crystal pulsed faster. Her whole body shook as if torn between life and fire. Her scream echoed through the chamber. The human rushed forward, but an invisible force pushed him back. He slammed his fists against the barrier, shouting her name, but she was alone inside. The voices rose again, cold and sharp. If you take the shard, the chains may break. But the fire may consume you. Choose, child of Nerith, life unbound, or death unending. Her face twisted in pain, tears streaming. She looked toward the human. Even through the barrier, their eyes locked. His voice reached her. Rough but steady, don't give up. You're not alone. Fight it. Fight for yourself. Fight for us. Her lips moved silently. Then with trembling hands, she reached for the crystal. The moment her fingers touched it, the chamber exploded with light. The statues cracked, dust rained from the ceiling, and her scream tore through the ruins. The mark on her arm flared so bright it blinded him. The barrier shattered, the human rushed forward, catching her as she collapsed. Her body limp, her brand glowing faintly. He shook her, fear tightening his chest. Her eyes fluttered open, weak but alive, and on her arm, the brand's glow had changed. No longer chains, but something new. Something unbroken, she whispered, her voice faint as a dying flame. The ruins answered me, but at a price. Before he could ask, the ground trembled. From the shadows of the hall came footsteps, not echoes, but living hunters they had followed, and now the vault itself would become a battlefield. The vault of dawn shook with the sound of boots. Torches burned bright as shadows spilled into the sacred chamber. The hunters had followed. Their blades gleamed, their eyes hungry. And at their head stood not only alien mercenaries, but humans too, armored and armed. The human froze, his hand tightening on his blade. He had expected enemies, but not this, not his own kind. The girl stirred weakly in his arms, her voice a whisper. They brought humans with them? Her eyes widened in disbelief. For her, humanity had been the only light in a world that hated her. But now even that light seemed poisoned. One of the human soldiers stepped forward, his face hidden behind a scarred helmet. But his voice carried authority. "You've made a mistake, brother. That alien is not salvation. She's a weapon, one that cannot belong to you alone." The human's jaw clenched. He raised his blade, his voice low but sharp. "She belongs to no one, not to hunters, not to merchants." "Not to you," the soldier chuckled darkly. "You don't understand, do you? Command knows what she carries inside. The fire in her blood, the power of her people. We were sent to secure it. And if that means killing you, so be it." The alien girl's hand tightened on his cloak, her face pale but her eyes burning with betrayal. "You said humans were different, that they were not like the others," her voice cracked. "And yet here they are, ready to chain me again." The human shook his head, his voice steady. "Not all humans are the same. Not all hearts are rotten. You trusted me, and I will not betray that trust," the hunters sneered, their leader stepping closer. "This is the end, human. Give her up, and maybe we'll let you live." The chamber was silent for a breath. Then the human shifted his stance. He lowered her gently against the broken stone. His eyes locked on hers. "Stay strong," he whispered, "because I'm about to make them regret walking into this place." Then he moved. The clash was instant, steel against steel, sparks flying. The hunters surged forward, but the vault itself seemed to fight against them. The statues groaned, cracks spreading as if angered by the intrusion. Dust rained down, the echoes of ancient voices rising like thunder. The human cut through the first line, his blade swift, his strikes merciless. But the soldiers pressed harder, their numbers overwhelming. One struck his back, another slashed his arm. Blood dripped, pain burned, yet still he stood. The girl struggled to rise, her body weak. But the crystal shard she had taken from the ruin still glowed in her hand. Her branded arm flickered, and for a moment her power surged. Fire spilled across the floor, forcing the hunters to step back. The scarred human soldier cursed, "She'll burn herself out. If she dies, the power dies with her. Take her alive!" The girl's fire faltered, her body collapsing again. Her strength was not yet enough. The human saw it, and rage exploded in his chest. He charged through the line, carving a path with blood and fury, until he reached the scarred soldier. Their blades clashed, the sound like thunder. "You're a traitor to your own kind," the human shouted. The soldier snarled back, "No, I serve my kind. You're the traitor, wasting this gift on an alien witch." Their fight was brutal, blade against blade. Every strike echoed through the chamber, until finally, with a roar, the human drove his blade through the soldier's chest. The scarred man staggered, choking, his last words dripping with hate. "You can kill me, but you cannot stop the orders. Others will come. They will never stop hunting her. Even your own kind will turn against you." He fell, his blood mixing with the dust of the ruins. Silence hung heavy for a moment, broken only by the sound of the girl's trembling breath. The human staggered back to her side, his body torn with wounds, but his eyes still burned with defiance. "They can come," he said, his voice low but steady. "Let the whole galaxy come. I won't hand you over, not to them, not to anyone." Her eyes filled with tears. Tears of sorrow, but also something brighter. "You fight against your own kind for me, Kiwai." The human's gaze softened. "Because you're not just a weapon. You're not just the last beauty of your people. You're someone who deserves to live. And I refuse to let your story end in chains." The vault shook again, the crystal shard in her hand glowing brighter. She clutched it, her voice weak but determined. "Then we have one chance left. If I can awaken the shard fully, it will burn the mark from me. But it may also destroy this place, and everything inside it." The human gripped her hand, his blood staining her fingers. "Then let it burn if it means you're free. We'll survive the fire together." The hunters regrouped at the chamber's edge, their numbers still overwhelming. But the girl's eyes shone with new light. The shard pulsed in her hand, and for the first time, her branded arm no longer looked like chains. It looked like wings. The vault roared as if alive. The statues crumbled, the ground cracked. The ancient power of her people began to awaken, and the night of betrayal turned into the dawn of something greater. The vault trembled as if the bones of the earth were breaking. Statues crumbled, dust filled the air. The hunters shouted, some running, others charging forward in desperation. But none of it mattered, because in the center of the ruin, the alien girl stood with the shard in her hand, her branded arm glowing brighter than the sun. The human staggered beside her, blood on his face, blade trembling in his grip. He was exhausted, but he would not fall. Not while she still breathed. Not while enemies closed in to take her. The girl lifted the shard high. Flames roared out of her body, not wild like before, but controlled, shaped, alive. It spread across the chamber, forming a wall of fire that held the hunters back. They screamed, their blades melting, their skin burning. But still some tried to force their way through. Greed was stronger than fear. She looked at the human. Her eyes glowed with fire and sorrow. "This is the end," she whispered, "if I release all of it. I can burn the chains forever, but I may not survive. My body is too weak to carry this power." He gripped her hand tightly, his voice rough but steady. "Then you won't do it alone, we'll carry it together. If the fire takes us, it takes us both, but I won't let it take only you." Her lips trembled, tears glimmering against the glow of fire. "No one has ever spoken like you. No one has ever chosen me over their own life." She leaned her forehead against his for a brief heartbeat, and in that moment, the promise she had whispered in the cage became something far greater. Not a promise of flesh, but a promise of forever. The hunters broke through the flames. Charging with screams, the human raised his blade. Roaring back, he fought like a dying star, each strike fueled by something deeper than strength. He fought for her, for the promise, for the bond that had grown in shadows and blood. The girl lifted the shard. The fire surged, it spread into her veins. Her body glowed like living light. The mark on her arm shattered, bursting into sparks. Her scream echoed through the vault. Not of pain, but of freedom. The flames erupted outward. Hunters burned where they stood. The chamber collapsed, statues falling, stone cracking. The human rushed to her side, catching her as she swayed. Her glow dimming, her breath shallow. "You're free," he said, his voice breaking. "You did it." Her eyes fluttered open, weak but filled with light. "I'm free. Because of you." Her hand touched his cheek. Her voice trembling. "You saved me, human. And now I will give you what I promised. A night you will never forget. Not of chains, not of fire, but of freedom. A night where we stand together not as prisoner and rescuer, but as two who chose each other against the whole galaxy." The vault roared louder. The ceiling cracked, light pouring in as the ruins collapsed. He lifted her in his arms, carrying her through falling stone and fire. The world crashed around them, but step by step. He forced his way out until at last they stumbled into the open night. The ruins behind them collapsing into ashes. The fire of a dead civilization finally at rest. They fell to the ground together under the cold stars. The girl lay against him, weak but alive. Her branded arm now clear, no longer a mark of chains. Only smooth skin, her tears fell freely. "I thought I would die with my people's curse, but instead, I live with you." The human brushed her hair back gently. "You'll live more than that, you'll live free. And I'll be with you every step of the way." The stars burned above them. Countless and endless, the galaxy still hunted, still plotted, but in that moment, they had won. Not with armies, not with thrones, but with a choice. A human who refused to walk away, and an alien beauty who refused to give up. Their promise in the cage had become a bond forged in blood and fire. A bond no chains could break, and though battles still waited, though enemies would still come that night under the endless stars, they found something greater than victory. They found forever.